41-6. So you add up Week 18 in this divisional round matchup, the last two times these teams have faced off, 9 combined points for San Francisco, 0 total touchdowns. Back in studio with the fellas to dissect what was lopsided, one-sided. Call it what you want, just don't call the Niners for points in this one. Mac, this was speed and violence. It felt like one of those Tyson fights where it's just the black trunks, no pomp and circumstance. He's throwing combos before you know what hit you. Yeah. How did you make how this game started and the way that Seattle really never let off the gas?
Man, Seattle played with a sense of urgency San Francisco 49ers never displayed at all. Starting with the opening kickoff, if you want to get momentum going in your favor, getting a home crowd behind you, return the kickoff for a touchdown. They did that. And that snowball got bigger and bigger and bigger as it rolled downhill. And San Francisco could not get out of the way of that snowball. Defensively, I mean, this is a group, they're like the Houston Texans of the NFC in their style of play. Because it's not just about how they swarm and how they rush the passer, but it's about the violence and the physical nature they play with. When you watch them play, it's like you feel the impact of their tackles. They're not just trying to get you down. They're trying to impose their will on whoever the ball carrier is. And we talked about how they swarm. Like I say, ant defense. For you viewers that have never heard me reference ant defense, drop some street crumbs on the street and watch how many ants go attack that said street crumb.
Carry together.
That's what it looks like. When they see that ball, they swarm around that football, and it feels like they're playing with 18 to 20 guys instead of 11, and that's the impact that we saw for 4 quarters.
I'm looking at the front office and what the organization from top down has done with this team, not only this year, but the last couple years. Opening kickoff, Rashid Shaheed, they got him at the trade deadline this year for what felt like nothing from the New Orleans Saints. For John Schneider, you move on from Russell Wilson, you move on from DK Metcalf, you move on from Pete Carroll, you just reload. Yeah, Geno Smith too. You just reload. Sam Darnold, Mike McDonald. The defense is firing. The pieces that they added on defense. This was an organizational win from top down tonight for the Seahawks. And when you talk about complimentary football, it was on full display tonight.
I love where you're going there, and I want to focus it on that key decision in 2023 to bring in a Mike McDonald to combat the offensive genius of Kyle Shanahan. I mean, this is 54-9 outscored these last 2 meetings with an offense that on this night didn't reach the red zone. And over these 2 games, scored 0 touchdowns.
You know that Kyle Shanahan isn't going anywhere in your division. You know that Sean McVay isn't going anywhere in your division, and that makes up a quarter of your games every year. John Schneider has assembled a group that, man, that's a lot of talent on defense. We just need a guy who can lead them. And, you know, there's been so much talk around the NFL about you got to get a head coach who's an offensive guy, because what happens when you have a successful offense? Everybody's going to want your play caller. Well, folks do want Clint Kubiak there with the Seattle Seahawks. Do we think that if you take away their offensive coordinator that the Seattle Seahawks would have a different outcome tonight? Of course not. Mike McDonald is a Coach of the Year candidate, if not the Coach of the Year, for what he has been able to put together. The Seahawks scored 27 points tonight off turnovers. So obviously, you know, the Seahawks would have won if San Francisco didn't turn the football over. They would have won 14-6. But they took advantage of every single turnover on downs, a fumble, interception. They scored every which way possible. A complete and entire team win. Probably the most complete victory we have seen in the postseason when you consider the special teams touchdown, when you consider how efficient the offense was, and then, of course, what the defense is able to do.
I was going to say the Seahawks would have won tonight if they didn't run an offensive play with 7 points in the first 13 seconds. That was all that was required. I guess call it the game-winning score in this matchup, the Rashid Shaheed touchdown. Mac, I want to glean upon your experience on some of those violent, physical, tone-setting defenses in Pittsburgh. What did that do for the other side of the locker room? For the offensive guys who knew, hey, keep it on the rails, let the psychopaths go do their thing, and we're going to win another football game.
Yeah, just don't mess it up.
Yeah.
When you play with that type of defense, Sam Darnold understands, I just can't mess it up. Just manage the system. And one of the realest things I ever heard from Bill Cowher my rookie year, right? He told our offense, sometimes punting the football is a good thing.
That's a luxury if you can feel that way.
And I never heard that before because I'm like, offenses want to score
at any
given time. And if you happen to have to kick the football, you're kicking because you got an extra point or you're attempting a field goal. But he told our offense, no, sometimes punting the football is good.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because he said you guys got a defense that is backing you, that they will defend every blade of grass. So just understanding that 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situation where you're trying to force something, Big Ben, no, don't force it. Hey, I applaud you for taking a punt because our defense is going to bow their back. And if you're Sam Darnold, if you're Kenneth Walker, if you're JSN, you understand if something is not there in 3rd down opportunities, it doesn't make any sense to force something and create a turnover where the opposing offense has a short field to work with. And we also have to remember the Seattle Seahawks, they're the #1 seed. So the next playoff game, it has to come through Seattle.
Yeah.
And you saw how loud
Yep.
it was and how difficult it was for San Francisco to communicate.
Mac, I'm a little ashamed of myself. Who was the punter back?
Chris Gerdacki.
Okay, there we go. The name
Was
rings
the
a bell.
punter my rookie in 2005 from Clemson,
Hey.
wore number 17.
Sometimes he's your best offensive player when you have a
Yeah.
defense like that. I want to go to San Francisco here for a moment, Ben, because this is an offense that when we've seen them click on all cylinders, even in the absence of George Kittle throughout throws of this season, even in the absence of Brock Purdy, they found a way. They were unable to find a way in this one and in Week 18 against Seattle. What did you see offensively? Did the attrition catch up, or was the game plan really never allowed to get off the ground today?
I think at some point it was realistic to think that this 49ers offense, with all the injuries, all the setbacks that they've had, was going to hit some type of wall at some point, right? And I think tonight, along with Week 18, we sat up here before the game and talked about they've got to be able to establish the run game with Christian McCaffrey. Kittle being out is going to be big in the run game. If you take Brock Purdy out of their rushing stats tonight, 22 carries for 71 yards. That's not a recipe for success, regardless of who you're playing, let alone versus this Seattle defense.
Yeah.
So it just looks like that offense was never able to get into a rhythm tonight, never able to get into much of a flow. The receivers were basically inexistent for this offense. It was the tight ends, it was the running backs, what we were accustomed to seeing. But I think just for San Fran, at some point the injuries were going to catch up to you, and I think tonight we kind of saw that forehand.
Yeah, for me, I look at it, and the injuries were mounting for the San Francisco 49ers, but that still meant that other guys needed to step up. Christian McCaffrey can only do so much. Brock Purdy is only going to be able to run for his life for so long. The pass catchers have to be there. Kendrick Bourne disappeared the last 3 weeks of the season, and I'm including the final 2 games here in the postseason as well, where he had 2 targets, 0 catches. I think he had a very similar stat line the week before as well. Ricky Pearsall, up and down all season long with various ailments and injuries. He had the exact same stat line as Kendrick Bourne did tonight. Their leading pass catcher was Jake Tonjes, who is only the leading pass catcher because George Kittle is down. So he is the one who stepped up. But obviously we talked a lot about the attrition. Ben, you're right. We all anticipated that they were going to hit a wall at some point. But I didn't mean for that to also allow for everyone else to not have to carry their load. And the guys who needed to step up in this next man up mentality in NFL that we hear all about, there was not a next man up tonight for San Francisco.
At some point, you look for that next man up, and there's nobody standing
He was
there.
in a medical tent.
It was a war of attrition here in Seattle. You say they ran into a wall. This defense has served as one and will be one moving forward as Seattle takes care of business as well. We'll have 2 1 seeds hosting your conference championship games. So forget that rust. The rest is nice. The Broncos win in the AFC divisional round, and they will host the championship game without their quarterback. Forget that oblique for Sam Darnold, who will host an NFC title game of his own as he awaits the winner of LA and Chicago. More to come here on CBS.